Guys, I guess firstly, thank you so much. I was one of the lurkers just then and couldn't really commit to any single session because they were all so awesome. I don't think we've ever had an event on Hopin with such variety, and I'm sure everyone would have loved to have been in every single session. We had like technology in one place, breathwork hopping here, and then everything you could possibly need to know about attraction and relationships in another. So yeah, really diverse evening with a super interesting thread between it all. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I imagine this feels like, I don't know if anyone agrees in the chat, but it feels like another one of those themes and topics, which is probably going to end up spawning off into lots of smaller communities. And Carl, I'm sure there's a bunch of people who would love to come and stretch at your place and explore breathwork a bit further. I'm definitely one of those people that read a lot about it, but never actually taken the plunge. And Sanj as well, I think you really inspired lots of us who maybe have got a bit lazy on the meditation front and maybe lost our streak and haven't got it back in a while. So yeah, I feel like definitely put a rocket underneath some of the things we know we should be doing and probably aren't doing at the moment. Thanks for re-inspiring us.
Thanks, Ben.
Yes, is there anything that came out of your conversations, Sanj and Carl, that kind of, I don't know, might be like common things that were coming up or kind of, key takeaways?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a common thing I hear. It's not just in this session. I hear it all the time when I speak to people. Don't worry about having a bad meditation or having a bad session or missing a run streak or not being good at this. You can't have a bad moment to yourself. it's all good if you're spending some time with yourself, if you're able to just breathe or take a moment. It's not necessarily even about going and using an app or doing something in particular. If you can just carve out a little bit of your day, a little bit more of your day where you're in the moment and you're there in that moment, in that second, the more you do that, the better you're going to get. So I guess I think this is the theme that was running through all the questions that I was being asked, and I'll kind of leave the last sort of sciencey stat, but this one's really important to me. So Harvard did a study in 2016, and it said that we spend 47% of our day on average lost in thought. And when I hear that word lost, then you think about the meaning behind that lost, not where you should be, somewhere else, in the wrong path, wherever it might be. If we're lucky, we get 80 years on this planet. If you're spending nearly 40 years not where you should be, that's the thing to worry about, not what app you're using, not whether you're meditating 1,000 times in 1,000 days in a row or any of that kind of thing. Just think about where you're at right now. And even if in this second you can drink a glass of water, take a sip, and just think about only drinking that water and what it tastes like and what it feels like, that's good for you. So just do that.
Love that. Thanks, Sanj. Carl, how about you? Any kind of reflections, key takeaways, final thoughts for people?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were asking in the session about techniques, and it's just to quickly run over that for those that weren't there. It's if you think about when you've got compensatory patterns, particularly in your breath that we're talking about, when you start doing something else on top of that, you've got some doing and you've got more doing. And it's the doing that it's the endless doing that gets us into trouble in the first place, right? And what, all these mystery schools and all these esoteric practices, modern or otherwise, point to is just being, like Sandra's saying, just a being with yourself, tending to yourself as you are, and so for me, what the technique isn't a technique of adding, it's just noticing. It's noticing how I'm resisting my physical, emotional, mental, spiritual innocence, and re-arising in that,
I wanted to echo just a point earlier that Sanj mentioned or alluded to, which is how I view, and also Carl touched upon it as well, is how I view spirituality. For me, I view spirituality very much like someone having a knife. A knife in the hands of a chef can create something incredible, or even in the hands of a surgeon can save a life. But that same knife in the hands of a criminal can take a life. So we spirituality for us actually really means, and relationships actually really means, it's not so much about the medium, but it's about the person and the attitude behind that medium. So someone can be more spiritual being inspired on an Instagram post than they can be meditating if their mind is in the right place, for example. Or the other way, someone could be more spiritual meditating than they are watching it, looking at Instagram posts. So it's not about the medium so much, but it's about the attitude and the intention behind the medium, which is really, really important. So I don't know, I think maybe you guys addressed it in your sessions, but someone here shared, a few people sharing about, how do we find that time when it's really, 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 really busy? Maybe you already addressed it. But if there's always going to be something that's trying to seduce your priorities, there's always going to be something or someone that's trying to make you a victim of their agenda. So at a certain point in our lives, we have to decide, look, I know that life's extremely busy. However, if I take 15 minutes, 20 minutes out a day, that 20 minutes is going to save me months and months in the future. If I go in the right direction now and take some steps to that now, that's going to save me months and months and months in the future. If I change the boat direction just by 1 degree, it ends up in a completely different destination. So it's completely on us to find that time, to protect that time, to wake up early if we need to, in order to have that real sacred connection. Because whatever we're doing in our lives, it's going to completely benefit that scientifically, as we saw, emotionally, as Carl was mentioning, spiritually and philosophically as well.